Imagine this. A classic American road trip. Young couple, cool converted van, ready to see the country.
Yeah, that whole van life dream. So much promise, right?
Exactly. But then that dream just shatters. It turns into this massive, disturbing mystery that honestly gripped the whole country.
You're talking about Gabby Petito.
Gabby Petito, yeah. 22 years old. Her and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. Their trip ended so tragically.
It really hit a nerve, didn't it? I think because it started so relatably. That idea of freedom, hitting the road.
Seeing the world on your own terms.
And when something that feels so aspirational takes such a dark turn publicly, it's deeply unsettling.
Absolutely. And that's why in this deep dive, we really want to go, beyond just the headlines, beyond the social media frenzy.
Yeah, try to understand what actually happened.
What happened to Gabby, who she was as a person, maybe touch on the questions left unanswered with Brian Laundrie, and just the wider impact.
Okay, so the goal is really to unpack the facts, the timeline.
Yeah, piece it together and figure out why this case resonated so much with so many people.
It's crucial, I think, to remember Gabby herself, not just the case, but the person.
Definitely. She wasn't just a headline.
Right. She grew up in Blue Point, New York, loved hiking, photography. You see it in her posts.
She shared a lot online, didn't she? Instagram, YouTube?
Yeah, she connected with people, had this radiant smile, everyone said, a real zest for life.
You really get that sense from the start of the trip. That was July 2021.
That's right. They set off in the van. It looked like, well, the perfect van life adventure unfolding online.
Those early pictures, Grand Teton sunrises, campfire.
Exactly, like something out of a magazine.
But things started to shift a bit, even online.
Looking back, yeah, you can kind of see it. The posts became less frequent.
Okay.
And the captions, maybe a bit more cryptic. Hints of something, maybe beneath the surface.
And those hints, well, they unfortunately led to something much more concrete. That incident in Moab, Utah.
August 12th, that was a big turning point, or should have been. Police were called. Domestic disturbance.
The body cam footage from that.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch.
It really is. Brian claimed Gabby had scratched him. He downplayed it.
But Gabby's reaction.
Yeah, she was visibly distraught, crying, very upset. It paints a different picture, doesn't it? Suggests a real power imbalance, maybe.
And the police?
Well, they separated them for the night. But ultimately, no charges, no further action right then.
That decision has obviously faced a lot of scrutiny since. A clear warning sign, many would say.
A huge warning sign. And it highlights just how complex these domestic situations are for law enforcement to handle on the spot. Were opportunities missed? People ask that.
And despite that whole incident, they kept going.
They did. They continued the trip together.
Wow. And then Gabby's communication.
It just stopped. Her last known contact with family was around August 24th. After that, silence.
Which must have been terrifying for her family.
Absolutely. Concern grows through late August, early September. No word.
And then Brian shows up back home in Florida.
September 1st. He drives the van back to his parents' place in Northport alone.
And he doesn't report her missing.
No. That's the critical thing. He says nothing.
It wasn't until September 11th, right, that her family officially reported her missing.
Correct. 9 days after Brian got back, that gap, it just fueled so much suspicion, so many questions.
Understandably. And the family's public plea. That's when things really exploded.
Oh, yeah. The search for Gabby became huge. Nationwide attention.
Social media was just flooded.
Yeah.
Hashtag Find Gabby Petito everywhere.
People were desperate to help, sharing tips, theories. The online community mobilization was intense.
Meanwhile, Brian, he wasn't talking.
Not initially, on advice of counsel, apparently, but the pressure mounted, obviously. Law enforcement zeroed in.
He became a person of interest.
Yes, and then warrants were issued. The search shifted focus to Florida, that Carlton Reserve area near his parents' home.
A huge, difficult wilderness area to search.
Very challenging terrain. That's where he was last known to have gone hiking.
And then, the news everyone feared.
September 19th, they found human remains in the reserve.
Oh, man.
2 days later, the FBI confirmed it. It was Gabby. It's heartbreaking.
And the cause of death ruled a homicide.
Ow.
Strangulation.
Yeah.
Just awful. It confirmed the violent end she met.
And Brian Laundrie, he was still missing at this point.
Yes, for weeks, adding this whole other layer of mystery and, frankly, agony to the situation.
Until they found his remains, too.
October 20th.
Yeah.
also in the Carlton Reserve.
And they found something with him.
Yeah, they found some of his belongings, including a notebook.
A notebook.
Reportedly, yes. And reports later stated that in this notebook, he confessed. He apparently admitted to killing Gabby.
Wow. So some kind of resolution, but just tragic all around.
A tragic conclusion, absolutely, to this nightmare that had just captivated and horrified the country.
It's hard to overstate the public reaction, isn't it? It became more than just a crime story.
Definitely. It became a cultural phenomenon in a way. It forced some really difficult conversations.
Like about domestic abuse.
For sure. Domestic violence, recognizing the signs, mental health within relationships. These topics were suddenly front and center in a way they hadn't been for a while. It also really spotlighted that whole issue of missing white woman syndrome.
Yeah, that debate became very prominent. The sheer volume of media attention on Gabby's case compared to so many other missing persons, especially people of color.
It raised uncomfortable questions about media bias, didn't it?
It absolutely did. Why do some stories get amplified so much more than others? It's a crucial question about media priorities and maybe even systemic biases.
And social media's role in all this.
Yeah.
It was such a double-edged sword.
Totally. On one hand, incredibly powerful for raising awareness, right? Mobilizing people, keeping Gabby's name out there.
Definitely helped drive the search in some ways.
But on the other hand, wow, the misinformation, the wild conspiracy theories, the online harassment of people involved.
It got pretty toxic.
It really showed the power, but also the real pitfalls of internet-fueled justice, or what looks like it sometimes.
So if we step back, what are the lessons here? What can we actually take away from this horrible story?
I think one major thing is just awareness. Recognizing signs of domestic violence even when things look perfect online.
Appearances can be deceiving.
Very deceiving. Those early red flags, they might be subtle, but they matter.
And the importance of timely reporting, right?
Right.
And how law enforcement responds.
Article. Empowering people to report abuse safely and ensuring that the response is effective, informed. That Moab incident really underscores the need for continued improvement there.
We also saw how communities, online and off, can rally, can demand justice.
Yeah, that collective voice can be powerful, supporting victims, seeking accountability.
And maybe just sharing these stories, as hard as they are, helps raise awareness for someone else who might need it.
I think so. It keeps the conversation going, makes people think.
Which leads us to you listening. As we've talked through Gabby's story, maybe think about this.
Yeah, think about how sometimes in our own lives, online or offline, there might be subtle signals, distress signals from people around us that maybe we don't always catch.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Gabby Petito case. We hope this discussion has been informative.
And look, if anything we've talked about today brought up difficult feelings or maybe concerns about domestic violence for you or someone you know, please reach out.
Yeah, please do. Help is available.
The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-SAFE-EAT. That's 1-800-799-7233. There's also info online.
It's so vital to remember you're not alone. Please stay safe and stay informed.
And as we reflect on Gabby's story, maybe just consider, how can we get better at seeing those quiet signals of distress around us?